MiniForce X might just be one of the most underrated action shows made for kids. On the surface, it looked like just another Power Rangers ripoff, but beneath the flashy transformations and giant robots was something much deeper. Yes, I'm finally talking about MiniForce X after an insane amount of requests. I'm going to break down the story, talk about my favourite parts, and then also conclude whether this is better than the original, which is what a lot of people seem to think. In case you're unfamiliar with MiniForce, it's a Korean animated show that focuses on 4 agents, or rangers, that fight back against superhuman threats. But they're actually animals. Small, talking animals. Volt the Squirrel, Sammy the Owl, Lucy the Fox, and Max the Beaver. The original 2 seasons, simply titled MiniForce, also introduced Ray, a solo operating Black Ranger, and Hawk, a Green Ranger that we saw for 1 episode, and 1 episode only. Justice for Hawk. As we kick off episode 1, we enter a spaceship. Yep, no more Syndrome, no more Lizard Rangers, we have intergalactic threats now. Already, this show's getting a lot more serious than the original. Why do I even bother? So these are the Dan crew, consisting of Dante, Dancho, and their pseudo-leader, Kara. They're the main set of generals for a very ominous and yet-to-be-revealed master called Zenos. And they're honestly what you'd expect from these type of villains. You know, they're the lackeys, you know, Team Rocket, the three-wheelers, you know, getting up to tomfoolery all while trying to be evil. The goal of the villains in the series is to extract negative energy from the people of Earth, setting up for something much bigger later on down the line. MiniForce very much has a villain of the week type formula, usually spanning 2 episodes at a time. And our first villain of the week is a music alien called U2. SAMG did not like that they downloaded that album straight to their iTunes. That's, what can I say? And then we finally arrive at the family house, where the MiniForce are looking as lively as ever. Until they speak. Not only have they all been recast, which is fine, I guess, you know, this is the English dub, but Volt's voice is once again that of an 8-year-old boy. I talked about this during the movie video, but Volt's voice downgrade needs to be studied. He goes from a fearless leader to someone who's been on the job for just 5 seconds. With his voice alone, it's insane.
MiniForce, transform!
We are going to take down that scoundrel with 1 shot.
We have the standard B-plot taking place. Susie is studying for a test, and everybody is trying to help her in a weird and whimsical way. But then we get the introduction of a new character called Uncle Dory, Susie and Louie's uncle. And he might be the single most annoying character in this entire show. Just like with the first series, I'm not going to go too in depth with all the B-plots of this show, and it's not even like one of those, oh yeah, but this show wasn't made for you, it was made for kids, and like, I would have hated this guy as a kid. I just know I would have. I hated Argent as a kid. I hated this guy. So I know I would not have been a fan of Uncle Dory. Anyways, the aliens start attacking the city and extracting negative energy from the civilians, so the team must jump into action with their brand new Force Gems? Okay, so these aren't Force Gems, but instead X Selectors. A new and improved piece of technology which acts the same as their Force Gems, you know. It's a comms device and a changer. A morpher. They take their X-themed transport pods down to the base where Commander Chen returns. He gives them the lowdown on this new intergalactic threat and introduces them to the X discs, which converts their standard beast power into X power. Yeah, so this moment, this scene is the first time that they're getting introduced to the X powers. This is literally their first exposure to it, but obviously they already have the X selectors and these new X pods, like they're not the Bakugan ones anymore. So either the animators didn't have access to the old models to use before giving them the X ones, or they did and they just couldn't be arsed. Kind of weird, kind of lazy, kind of absolutely hilarious. But yes, they've now got these new and improved stronger powers for this stronger threat. They morph into action for the first time with their new X powers. The sequence is pretty much the same as the original, but the animation seems a lot smoother, and yo, I love the new suits. Don't get me wrong, I'll forever appreciate the original suits, and I do think I prefer them from a style standpoint, but these are undoubtedly a lot more tactical looking, while still also contributing to each ranger's unique motif. And with that all said, the theme song that plays in the background is 10 times better than the original. Like, not just instrumentally, but the guy can actually sing this time. The sequence ends with them morphed in a teleportation pod that zaps them to the scene, followed by a very satisfying roll call, ending with them posing in front of a giant X. And whilst what I just said sounds incredibly silly, it is actually kind of fire. Once in action, their superpowers are pretty much the same, if not just refined, but instead of their force weapons, they now have cross-X weapons. The same concept applies, you know, traversal weapons that can turn into different things, you know, a blaster, a sword, an axe, you get the idea. And let's not forget to talk about the locations. We're on a city rooftop now and not just a structureless desert. Don't get me wrong, the original had a bit of variety, but this is a step up. There's a standard battle where the villains inevitably retreat, setting up for their return in episode 2. And I don't understand why these shows aren't 13 22-minute episodes rather than 26 11-minute episodes. And like, it works all the same, you know, you still get the same story beats, but it's weird that they've split them up into more episodes but shorter episodes. Just thought that was kind of weird. Maybe it's an attention span thing, I don't know. And with episode 1 wrapped up, that was a solid start to the show. The first few minutes did worry me, you know, the intergalactic threat being a lot more menacing than the dollar store syndrome was cool, but like the jokes they were making and then the introduction of Uncle Dory, like I didn't know if this was going down an even more childish route that like the original show was already at, you know. It intended to be a preschool show by all means, but I mean the original series hit some older audiences almost like immediately after it aired. It was a lot, I won't lie. But the suits are already growing on me, I gotta be honest with you. Just like the first video, I'm not gonna go in depth on every episode, but I am gonna cover what I feel is most important to the story. In episode 2, we start seeing a little more of Master Zenos, but he's still not fully revealed. He gives U2 a second chance at attacking Earth, and he actually uses a news broadcast to extract negative energy that way. Kinda crazy how we can do that. Surely you'd do that to begin with, but clearly not. The team chase him down, and as he's getting away, they summon all new jetpacks. A fun addition, don't get me wrong, but it does bring these suits closer to Iron Man by the second. They end up in a construction site and work together to take him down, with the final strike actually coming from Max, being the first one to use one of the new X discs, specifically using Magma Bear Strike, which gives this insane, like, spirit animal looking attack where he just obliterates U2 with fire. It is sick. Not only is this great and a good sign of moments to come in the show, but one of my biggest critiques of the original series is that Lucy and Max just didn't really do anything. They left it all to Volt, Sammy, or Ray. So the fact that Max gets a moment to shine, being the first one to use this new X disc, I am here for it. Master Zenos then goes full Reader Repulsor and makes his monster grow. In the original series, they of course had Mecha Mons, which would either be piloted by the villain of the week or by Pascal. But in this, we straight up just got the alien that was in battle before grow into the size of a kaiju. And I think you guys know what that means. We're gonna summon the Force cars. Except they aren't Force cars in this. We actually have the MiniForce X machine, a giant truck that dispatches Force vehicles. Volt has a race car, Sammy has a jet, Lucy has also a race car, and then Max has a drill truck? A driller? A drill? And look, these are a lot cooler than the original Force cars, especially Sammy's jet. That is a cool looking mech. They transform into their battle modes and manage to take down U2. And look, if the CG hasn't necessarily improved, the animation and the 2D effects definitely have. I mean, look at some of this shit. Like, this looks great. Episode 3 starts with Volt scared of some impending doom, and it turns out the threat is actually a green monkey called Jackie. He absolutely idolizes Volt, and Lucy casually drops into conversation that Jackie is also a MiniForce agent, albeit a new one. They're watching a documentary about MiniForce and actually answers a question that I pondered in the original video, as to whether these animals can talk to each other but aren't actually communicating with the people of the world, and you know, are just like, they just sort of understand each other on like a pet, like owner relationship. But no, they can talk. They can talk with Susie and Louie and Dory, and they can just talk. An alien is sent to Earth called Liar, who can blow raspberries with a giant tongue on his chest, causing everybody affected by his powers to lie. It affects Jackie, but he ends up pranking Susie by sending a bunch of like food deliveries to her house. You know, not what they said the powers would do. That's not lying, that's just being like devious. When the team is summoned to the base, we actually see that iPass is working there as an Alpha 5 guy in the chair type character. Now, I don't know if this is actually iPass or whether they've just reused the model from the original show, but as far as I'm concerned, that's iPass. They head to the city to fight the alien and the henchmen, and Lucy gets to use the X disc with Fire Diamond Fox. First of all, hell of a moment. Absolute scenes. Fire Diamond Fox looks incredible. And what did I say? Lucy and Max being pushed to the sidelines in the original show. Now they're the first two to use the X discs. Everything's coming up Max and Lucy, do you know what I mean?
Everything's coming up Millhouse.
We continue into episode 4, where Jackie is still affected by Liar's powers, and he tricks the team to show up to a location where there's actually not any bad guys. But it does give us this impeccable shot. Alright, MiniForce X, I see you out there. Who give you the right to have this much of a saucy upgrade? That is a cinematic glow-up. Trouble is, they're caught by the police, believed to be criminals, and are arrested. Jackie is then somehow free of the brainwash, I guess it's only temporary, and attempts to save the team, and he does so. He's able to land on the police car that they're locked in, and they can escape through the back. And I want to point out, he hasn't morphed once. They made a point to tell us that he's a ranger. Seems like a bit of a Chekhov's gun, but he's not yet, I guess. The team save the day as usual, but man, I'm getting annoyed at Jackie already. What are you doing introducing Uncle Dory and Jackie and deciding, you know what, we're going to make these the most annoying characters in television history? I think I'd take Victor and Monty over Dory. Oh, actually, well, would I? I don't know, actually. And let's not act like I haven't noticed that Ray isn't around. Yeah, I've noticed. Where's my boy? Episode 5 is nothing to write home about, but the villain is borderline Kamen Rider build, so that's fun. Jumping over to episode 9, we get a villain that turns Max into a baby. Doesn't affect the larger story at all, but how adorable is this? Where's the capitalization, huh? Why have I had to see Baby Groot and Baby Yoda for the last couple of years? Where's Baby Max? And look at him piloting the Force vehicles. That's even better. Now, the story that spans episode 15 and 16 is one of the most interesting ones so far because it's how the Dan crew met Master Zenos. They were a team of regular villainous adventurers who came across a prison containing Zenos. He was locked away for trying to destroy the universe, and he persuades them to break him free and work for him. The episode kind of follows Kara having a bit of an identity crisis, not really knowing her true worth, but inevitably she ends up rejoining the team and there's no issue. More thoughts on the Dan crew later on, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of enjoying their presence in this show. Now, we get to a peculiar set of episodes with episodes 17 and episodes 18. See, there's a teacher at Susie's school that Lucy has a crush on, but this teacher also has an action figure of the pink MiniForce Ranger that he carries around with him. Now, nothing wrong with a grown man collecting some toys, especially not MiniForce toys. I'm in a glass house, I can't throw any stones. But the story follows this weird scenario where Lucy is so distracted by her crush that Commander Chen sets them up on a date where Lucy is in suit the whole time pretending to be a human. Which is something in itself. Whenever we saw Pascal interact with Nine in the original show, Nine was like the size of a regular human and Pascal was small, you know, MiniForce, and he was the same size as the other MiniForce Rangers. And I thought that was the implication, that they're still small even when they're morphed, but in this, she's regular height. So they've just retconned that entire concept of them being a small fighting force, and now they're just regular size, and this is fine. It looks cool. It looks great. It can lend itself to more stories down the line. Maybe that's a result of the X powers. I don't know. That was a weird thing to do, I think. And putting her on a date with a teacher was a weird thing to do as well, let's be real. What's really important about this episode, though, is that they gain a new X disc that can only be operated with all 4 of them combining their powers. Stereotypically named the Super X disc, they use it against an alien that looks like a Mikado stick. And listen, silly alien aside, the Super X disc final strike is hot. It summons the Solar Phoenix and obliterates the alien. Of course, it then grows giant, but Lucy gets this moment where she gets to go absolutely berserk, like full on Super Saiyan, starts glowing pink, all in order to sort of protect the teacher that she had a crush on. And in her force vehicle, takes down the alien single-handedly. Hop off, queen. And so what if you're in love with a man that has your action figure? You're fine. His name is Mr. Roy, by the way. And it's not entirely relevant, but with a name like Mr. Roy, I feel like it is. We get to episode 19, and Susie, Louie, and Dory are debating over who is the best MiniForce Ranger. They pick everybody other than Blue, which sends Volt crashing out, until they come to the conclusion the best MiniForce Ranger is the Black Ranger. Ray mentioned, Return of the King. Finally, after 19 episodes, we're acknowledging him. We see flashes of him really embodying like a real Batman-esque character, this time also fitted with a brand new X suit. The team are caught and sent to another dimension, which is what prompts Ray's return. Not only aura farming his way through life, but facing off against an alien called Dark Knight. A knight that rides a mechanical horse. This is peak. Jen and iPass tried to figure out how to save the team from the Dark Dimension. Rita Repulsa's calling, she wants her royalties. So Ray and Dark Knight meet up at midnight for a duel. Horse v bike. Like, pure aura farming. There's no other way you can describe it. Dark Knight is able to use portals to outpace Ray, but does my boy back down? Damn right he doesn't. He locks the hell in and starts dodging all of the attacks, and then pulls out an X-Disc of his own, summoning Dark Jaguar. He absolutely obliterates Dark Knight and saves the entire team. Ray's that guy. Ray is that guy. Of course, Dark Knight grows, but Ray calls on his Force X machine, starting as a Falcon, then turning into a car, then a fighter mech. Back at it again with his multi-action Zord. The fight is the same at this point. Portals are used, Ray is too cool for school, and...
I am the darkness that protects the light, the slayer of darkness, in the shadows of the light.
Just give me a Ray spin-off show at this point. Do you know what I mean? Let me see this man up to his tricks. The best agent, the best ranger. Don't at me about it. And of course, we can't have our cake and eat it too. Ray does then leave back on his solo adventures, hopefully to return, but that was some episode. God damn! I'm going to take a very quick pause in this video to talk to you about my Patreon. For just £3 a month, you can get early access to videos, you can get exclusive videos, you can get your names credited in this videos, and of course, it comes with ad-free viewing. We had an incredibly scary moment recently where the entire channel was hacked and I lost control of every connection to the channel, and we didn't know if we were going to get it back, and that's when the Patreon came in clutch. I was able to post there for you guys. Of course, the video still existed on Patreon, and the support on there meant that I still had some form of income. So if you do like these videos and you want to help out in any way, then the Patreon is there. But of course, sharing these videos also means the world as well. Now, during episodes 21 and 22, the villain is a giant T-Rex mecha. Well, this mecha is able to destroy the individual X vehicles, and the X machine carrier literally has to retrieve them and bring them to safety. In episode 22, a bunch of negative energy is being gathered, and the team are no match for the T-Rex. Enter Dr. Wright. Dr. Wright is the mad scientist between the X machines, the X discs, X, he's that guy. And he knows how to make the X vehicles even stronger, revealing a design for the Force Xtron. A 500% increase in power, yes, the Megazord. The team acts surprised by this, even though their old Force cars could do the same thing. Anyway, despite it not being 100% finished, they get the green light to use it, and they go back out in the battlefield and form the Force Xtron. Honestly, so much better than the original one. Like, it's not even a competition. The connections aren't bulky. The big ass X on the front of it is fire and reminds me of Cam's Green Samurai Zord, and the cockpit looks great. I mean, overall, this shit's awesome. The mecha has a bunch of tricks that correlate to each of the Ranger's separate Zord parts, and takes no damage against the T-Rex's attacks. The final weapon is the Force X Blaster. It's unfinished, but they must risk destruction if it means destroying the T-Rex too. As we enter the big sort of finale story of Season 1, we've got an alien called Xtron who can duplicate things, creating evil clones of the MiniForce. Whilst the team are preoccupied with the clones, the Dan crew unleash their own new mecha called Danbot Z. It harnesses an insane amount of negative energy, and then when the Force Xtron confronts it, Danbot Z straight up destroys it. The best that the CG has looked in this entire show is this moment of destruction. They retreat and are knackered, with Dr. Wright saying the mecha can be repaired, but they may never be able to use the final strike ever again. But the battle isn't over, because eventually, Master Zenos reveals himself, teleporting to Earth, having extracted enough negative energy to take them on solo. I know I don't really know how to like depict this properly through a video essay, but like at this point in time, Master Zenos is like the shit. He is the guy. He's got all of the power, and it's so weird because we've only seen him as this like dark, shadowy figure that's just been giving orders, but we've gone from 0 to 100 in like 5 seconds. He is the guy right now. Just when it seems like the team are overpowered, Ray returns. So in the season finale, we have Ray going 1v1 with Zenos, but he gets his ass handed to him on a plate. But that doesn't mean anyone is backing down. The team think about everyone they know, everyone they love, and that they have one mission, which is to save this entire planet. The Super X disc is used, but it does nothing to Zenos, other than a small crack forming on his mask. At this point, he calls on Xtron once again to take over, along with Danbot Z. Ray joins the team in calling for their mechas, starting a 2v2 battle. Ray manages to destroy Danbot Z, and the Dan crew straight up get team rocketed into the sky. However, Xtron is still far too powerful, and the Force Xtron is losing power. Ray keeps fighting back, but Xtron ends up turning into an even more powerful monster. The team are out of options, so they gather enough energy to go into overdrive mode, and with their one mission, risk every inch of their lives, even with Sammy turning to Volt and saying, you know what, you are a true leader. They activate the X boomerang from the X on their chest, destroying the Force Xtron, but also the mutated alien. And with the day saved, we close out on Season 1 of MiniForce X. So before we get on to Season 2, wow. A lot happened, and I barely touched on the B plots of these episodes. We have new powers, new mechas, and a new alien threat, but the show still very much follows from the original. Main team of 4, Commander Chen in the office, and then Ray being the lone wolf 6th Ranger. So far, I am loving it. The original show really grew on me anyway, but this feels like a step up in every way, other than Volt's voice. But again, we'll let it slide. Master Zenos is a far more interesting character than 9, and whilst the Dan crew are mainly comic relief, they're definitely up there rivaling with sort of Pascal on the sort of like leading general of the evil guys. There's not been a lot of character development. I mean, neither was there in the first show, to be fair, but I did like that moment of Sammy finally appreciating Volt as a leader. Again, New Heroes Rise definitely showed that from Volt, but I guess I don't know what the canon is. That was like the prequel to the first series, so maybe there's some grey areas there. And also, I've only very lightly touched on it, but there's been a running gag throughout this show that like nobody likes the Blue Ranger, which like keeps sending like Volt spiraling. Like there's the conversation in Ray's first episode where they're talking about who's the best Ranger, and they don't say Blue. There's a kid who like really doesn't like the Blue Ranger. Everybody just, there's no love for the Blue Ranger, and I don't understand why. He's the leader of the team. He was the coolest in the original show, but they have really just like sort of flipped his story, and like he's just been nerfed. I don't understand why. Anyway, let's see what this show can do in its second season, MiniForce X, Pentatron. Yep, we got a subtitle going into this next one. We pick up immediately after the events of Season 1 with the Force Xtron undergoing serious repairs. Meanwhile, in space, we're introduced to a brand new general named Zord, right-hand man of Zenos and now the boss of the Dan crew. I'm gonna have to be careful now referring to this guy as Zord and then referring to these as Zords. I'll see how that goes. The villain of the week in episode 1 is arguably the coolest alien we've seen so far, the Doodler. His powers? He doodles on things.
You've done doodles!
With this new season, we get a new power-up called Attack Mode. It's like a little device that can turn into electric fists, a storm boomerang, a gigantic punch, and amazing shield. It's a fun addition to their arsenal and lends itself to more unique fight scenes rather than just what they usually do with the cross weapons. My personal favourites are Max's gigantic punch gauntlets and Sammy's boomerang. The Doodler eventually grows and we get another set of mechas, the Force Penta X machines. Really stretching these names out. For starters, the carrier has a flight formation and the vehicles become more construction based, with Sammy's transitioning from a jet to a helicopter. Honestly, I think I prefer the original X machines, but I still prefer these to like the original series Force cars that we had. Episodes 5 and 6 see the bad guys targeting Volt specifically, knowing that he's the leader of the team and turning him evil against the team. The monster of the week to do this is the Arachnid Alien Spider. No joke. That's his name. He's a green, part spider, part scorpion, part robot. I don't know where this is. Jackie returns, and it's worth noting that since his debut, Jackie hasn't really remained present for all of it. He like disappears for a couple of episodes at a time, comes back for a little cameo role, disappears again, returns. It's hard to tell whether he's meant to be a main character or not, but anyway, he really wants Volt to mentor him and to training to be a better MiniForce agent, and Volt is kind of fed up of his antics. So he sends him on a mission, or like on a training quest, that isn't actually real, but sending him to this location gets him really injured. His guilt is used to the alien's advantage, and Volt is successfully brainwashed by a chip on his neck, and he sweeps up the rest of the team. As Volt runs rampant through the city, the team are at the base without a plan to save him. And see, the problem with Volt is that out of all of their superpowers, he's the one who's really fast, so despite them being strong, being able to jump really high and all that, they can't keep up with his speed. Which is when Jackie steps forward and says, look, he's not as fast as Volt, but his powers are also some form of super speed, and he could maybe keep up, at least to a certain degree. We return to the scene where Volt is destroying everything, and the team show up with Jackie as the Green Ranger. What do you mean? I mean, like, we were told he was a ranger when he was introduced, and he's green, you know, duh. But revealing him like this is crazy. Like, give the man a morphin sequence at least. Why is it always the Green Rangers getting done dirty? Justice for Hawk. Volt outruns them all, and all they really want to do is protect Jackie at this point, but he knocks them all down. Jackie tries to talk to Volt, try and snap him out of it, but it doesn't work, and he keeps attacking him, but no matter what happens, Jackie keeps getting back up. Saying that whilst there wasn't a direct mentorship, he did learn everything about being a good MiniForce Ranger from Volt because he's idolized him for so long. Whilst it did eventually seem like the power of love and friendship was going to break him free, it was actually just a distraction so that Jackie could get close enough to remove the chip from the back of his neck. And then Jackie dies. Not really. MiniForce loves to do this death fake out. They do it throughout all of the first season, all of the first show, and a lot through this, you'll see. After Volt solos the spider alien, they call on their robos to finish the job. Back at the house, Jackie is in fact alive and recovering well, but if this is another case of a Green Ranger that only shows up once, I'm gonna be fuming. Episodes 9 and 10 show MiniForce on a game show where Volt and Jackie get turned to stone, and Lucy needs to get all of the right answers in order to free them. Why is this relevant to the story, you ask? Well, because it's Ray's Pentatron debut. The episode also introduces a new Super X disc in the form of Crystal Dragon. The full team combo is pretty sick, and overall, I'm loving these X discs and Super X discs. I think so far, they're like one of the best new additions into the show. Now, in episode 11, we get another new MiniForce Ranger. It definitely seems that Jackie is out of the game again, but there's this new navy kind of black Ranger, not as cool as Ray, of course, and he's very material. Like if MiniForce took place in like the world of the boys, you know, like not necessarily that he's evil, but it's very much showy. He very much is aware that he's in the public eye, and he kind of likes that. Like Danger Duck in Lunatics Unleashed. Did anybody else see that video I posted? That was a weird one. This is Rio, a millionaire scientist cat who is considered to be the Onyx or Cobalt Ranger. Now, in everything I found online, his name is spelled Leo, but they pronounce it in the English dub as Rio, so I'm gonna go with Rio for now, but I suppose the name is up for debate. And also, was Cobalt necessary? Like, we've already got a Black Ranger, why did we need to have a Ranger so close to black? Like, could have had a Purple Ranger, could have had an Orange Ranger, a White Ranger even? No. Cobalt. The team want him to join as an official member, but he says he'd rather work alone. And you know what? I'm angry at this. Because look at this. This is the box that my Ray figure came in, right? As I said earlier, I've got Ray, I've ordered all of these, and these are the MiniForce X figures. You can get Jackie, and you can get Rio. Can't get Hawk anywhere on this. Neither can you get, I forget her name, but the bunny rabbit from the movie. He better be a decent enough character to be infringing on Ray so much. And I don't know. Also, let me know in the comments, should I get the MiniForce X figures? They're going to be a lot more expensive than the originals. Anyway, after some time, Rio does join the team as a full-time member. He's not as full-time as the main four, but he's around a lot more frequently than Ray is, and especially Jackie. And he actually gifts them some new weapons as well. Along with their Cross-X weapon, they've got like these dual pistols that can also connect into like a sword and into a bigger blaster. It's kind of the same as the Cross-X weapons, but it's a bit more, it's got a few more abilities to it, I guess. Because yeah, Rio is not only an agent, but like I said, he's a mad scientist. He has worked on a bunch of MiniForce products, so the chances are if there's a piece of tech that they have, he helped work on them. And whilst I have beefed this character so far, he has definitely got the best like animal appearance. He looks sick, and his robo is a tank. Now this is peak. Honestly, I love the aesthetic of this guy. During episode 15, we get a slight glimpse of the Force Pentatron Megazord, but they kind of scuff the transformation sequence. But eventually, they get it right, and we have a brand new Megazord formation, officially with Rio as part of the combination, so he's officially part of the main team. A few things to note is that Rio's Penta Xbox does get a sort of transformation sequence, but he is still yet to have a morphing sequence. Weird that they'd give him one but not the other, but that's chill for now. As for the new Megazord, I really do like it, but it's probably my second favorite so far, with the first MiniForce Xtron being my favorite one, and then I think anything's gonna beat the one from the original show. I don't mean to keep slandering it, but it is just cars stacked on top of each other. And the cockpit inside is incredible. If there's one thing this show is doing right, it is sick cockpit designs. I don't know why they stick out to me so much, but it looks really cool. In episode 17, not a lot happens, but Rio does get a spot in the morphing sequence and roll call, so a bit of redemption's going on here. Now, starting with episode 20, we begin entering the real final arc of MiniForce X. The Dan crew are doing their normal villainous shenanigans when they actually get caught and end up in MiniForce custody. They get interrogated by Commander Chen to try and learn more about the aliens, but Zod sends down an alien called M-Bomber with enhanced extraction abilities, and uses all the energy he's absorbed to send a nuclear-scale bomb to the MiniForce headquarters. The team feel helpless at this point, so Volt tries to chase it and beat it to the headquarters with his jetpack. He gets to the Dan crew in time and is able to help them escape before the building is destroyed. As for Chen and I-Pass, well, they actually sent the Dan crew to an old training facility, so the main headquarters is completely fine. It was like a double bluff, it was great. Now, of course, the Dan crew are pissed that Zenos and Zod would portray them like that and try to kill them, so they do a full 180 on the villains and join MiniForce with people as insider knowledge. We find out that the machine storing all of the negative energy is almost at maximum capacity, and that Zod actually plans to steal some from Zenos so that he can rule over. The team set a course for outer space and plan to attack Zenos and Zod on their ship. The X-Carrier is used as a spaceship, and the 5 main MiniForce Rangers plus the Dan crew are strapped in and ready to go. Rio is the module pilot for this, and he's a little bit cocky about it, which makes for some cool interactions. The character is a bit of a douchebag, but I'm warming up to him. He's a cool member. And there's a slight pause in the action for this gorgeous shot where they look back over at Earth. Honestly, MiniForce X has some sauce to it. It's like they actually hired a DP for this. They were like, okay, you guys are doing the animation, let me just tell you how to make this look good. Zenos detects their presence, and robots are sent to attack them. The Penta X bots are detached to fight while the Dan crew stay in the carrier. Honestly, I love this team up. I know I've not spoken too much about the Dan crew prior to now, and it's mainly because after you viewed like the first little story about them, each episode is pretty samey. There's nothing too much that goes on, and I've only really brought them up when they've done something that's affected the story. But in this final arc, the writers just decided to lock in, and these guys are becoming some of my favourite characters in the show. The Megazord is inevitably formed and wipes out the enemy bots, and the team finally land inside Zenos' ship. More henchmen begin to attack, and the Dan crew help fight them off. There's this great corridor fight scene with the two teams working together before getting to the end and finally confronting Zenos. But when they get there, they find out Zenos is dying. Zord has extracted all the remaining negative energy from Zenos and seeks to destroy everyone. A fight then breaks out between MiniForce and Zord, which I guess you could now call Megazord. Anyway, Kara taunts Zord for not knowing how to control his power, saying he's never got his hands dirty and always makes other people fight for him. And that's when the team summon a Super X disc and use Earth Dragon to defeat Zord. And all seems well until Zenos rises again. He knew the Dan crew would betray them, and he just wanted to see the tomfoolery play out before granting Zord even more power, having him grow to the size of the Robos, like he's a kaiju now. And they then have an all-out mech battle inside of Zenos' ship. Like, if that doesn't show you the scale of it, then I don't know what does. They manage to destroy Zord once and for all, but Zenos absorbs all of the remaining negative energy, leaving the ship and activating its self-destruction. And we don't exactly know if the team managed to escape, but Zenos heads to Earth for full-blown annihilation. On Earth, the full MiniForce army awaits, but they are no match for Zenos' supreme power. Okay, so we're about to enter the final 2 episodes of MiniForce X, and before we do that, I just wanted to take a minute to talk about how incredible this has been so far. The first show's finale doesn't compare to the stakes of this one, and we haven't even gotten to the actual end yet. The storytelling has been great despite most of it just being episodic, and whilst I can't wait to see how this ends, I really don't want it to end. But all good things, of course, must come to an end. So with that said, let's check out episodes 25 and 26 of MiniForce X Pentatron. Zenos makes it to Earth and straight away is blowing up cars with innocent people in them. He proceeds to extract negative energy and flies to a nearby news helicopter and insists his message is broadcast. We see Susie and her family watching television, funnily enough watching Moncart, which is another show created by SAMG Entertainment. Fun little reference, and if anybody wants me to do a video on Moncart one day, let me know in the comments. An emergency news broadcast takes over as Zenos declares he's arrived to see their destruction as he blows more shit up. People all around the world think that the MiniForce is gone, and Chen asks I pass. Yes, officially calling her I pass, theory confirmed. He asks whether she has had any signal, any communication, any sign of life from the main MiniForce team, to which she says she doesn't. Jackie truly believes there's no way that the team are gone, but bro, you can morph still. You've still got the powers, you go out, you can help them! Zenos then approaches an old man in the street who's apparently got no negative energy, and then this exchange happens.
Are you not afraid of death?
The fear of death does not change anything.
Damn, bro. Fairs. That man has seen enough in his day. Just as Zenos is about to kill him, Volt swoops in and kicks him away, followed by the rest of the team and the Dan crew. And now they're the ones who are farming. Look at them on that ledge. Zenos strikes at them first, which prompts the team to summon their double sword guns, doing everything they can to damage Zenos. Of course, as we know, he is far too strong for them, but that's when Rio contacts Master Chen and asks for the super rare X disc. No one else on the team knew this existed. Rio only did because he helped develop it, but then Dr. Wright says that this needs charging time and they could lose their lives just by using it. Regardless, Commander Chen gives them the green light to use the disc, but Dr. Wright says it can't be transported to them like the other discs, and instead it needs to be physically delivered to them. They say that's fine, and until then all they have to do is hold off Zenos. Now, I'd say this is the perfect opportunity for Jackie to become the Grid Ranger again and hand deliver it to them. But I'm going to let it slide because Ray's the one to do it. Ray returns on his bike with the case. He throws him the case from his bike, but Zenos gets a hold of it. He knocks Ray off his bike, and Zenos disintegrates the entire case. Ray goes 1v1 with Zenos and ends up losing when Jackie shows up as the Green Ranger again with the X disc, the real super rare X disc in the case, proving this entire time the one Ray had was just a decoy, a distraction. Oh my god. Genuinely, when I'm watching this show, I'm very much digesting it as a fact that I'm enjoying this show to a degree, but I'm also writing a video on it. I was borderline applauding when this happened. I've been saying all this time, they're giving us these MiniForce Rangers that barely show up. Hawk only showed up once, and I was sure that Jackie was only showing up once as well, only for him to return side by side with Ray in the final episode, where we have all 7 Rangers in one place. Oh, the main team all take a disc each whilst Ray and Jackie battle with Zenos. The team activates the disc and gathers the energy they require. Ray and Jackie keep fighting, and Jackie even sacrifices himself for the team when Zenos was about to destroy them mid-charging of the discs. Ray takes Jackie to safety, and finally the disc summons Gold Ultra Dragon, which also embodies the whole team and finesses Zenos into the ground. Celebrations are heard around the world until Zenos rises once more, growing giant and becoming this beast. Now, in the final episode, HQ have no idea the extent of Zenos' power and they seem out of options. The team call on their Penta Xbox and all attack Zenos at once. The robot's powers are depleting by the hit and nothing is damaging Zenos in the slightest. The negative energy has made him invincible and the team are starting to realise what sort of position they're in. They combine their bots to establish as much power as they can, but that is also no use. Whilst they're all down, Danbot Z returns. The lackeys have returned in their repaired mecha and Ray returns in his X-Bot. And Commander Chen then swoops in on the comms saying reinforcements are en route. And those reinforcements are the original Force X bots from Season 1 of MiniForce X. The music's ramping up at this point and I'm getting chills as 2 seasons worth of X-Bots are coming together as one. Zenos is obviously still too powerful and the people of the city begin to cry with more negative energy being extracted. And now the team are almost about to give up until Susie appears in the street. And look, she is silly for this, right? But what she does do is prompt the entire city to have hope, all chanting "Go MiniForce Go." There's so much unity amongst the city that positive energy gets extracted, countering the negative energy and fighting back against Zenos. Then both sets of Force bots combine, and all 4 mechas, including Ray and the Dan crew, give it all they have against Zenos, sending him into the sky as he explodes over the rooftops. MiniForce have done it. Insane. MiniForce reunite with the Dan crew, who said they're done being space pirates and they're actually going to go and open a cookie shop. The crew then return to their ship and take off, hoping that one day they can reunite with MiniForce once more. We return to the house where the team are goofing around and having fun, being monitored by Rio. He says that a true hero always prepares for any new danger coming his way, as a hologram opens up on his wristwatch, revealing a Tyrannosaurus Rex. And that is MiniForce X. Where to begin? Honestly, what an incredible show, and it's definitely made for kids. There's no argument about that, but the step up in quality from the first show to this one is insane. This was better than a lot of Power Ranger shows, and especially other shows alike that I watched as a kid. The team felt even more united than they once were, and it felt like everyone had an even split of the attention. A beautiful justice story for Lucy and Max. I've already stated my opinions on Ray. I love him, and they even play into it in the show as to the fact that he disappears and reappears. Like, the characters are self-aware of it as well. Whilst he got on my nerves to begin with, Rio was a pretty great character, being more of a veteran agent that had been revealed to have developed a lot of the new X technology. Jackie as a character I was never a fan of, but I would have put money on the fact that he was not coming back as the Green Ranger after that 1 episode appearance, and he did. Not only did he become the Green Ranger again, it was in a crucial moment he sacrificed his life, and just getting to see him fight alongside Ray, that was sick. Master Zenos was fantastic and much better than 9 in my opinion, though I wish he had like more of a story, or at least more of a backstory. Like, the reason he wanted all of the negative energy was to rule over the universe, but I wish there was like a personal story to that. I do think I preferred Pascal in the first series to Zord in this series, but the power sort of ladder that went on between Zenos, Zord and the Dan crew, I did really enjoy that. That made for some great moments, especially with the Dan crew, who had the redemption of the century. They really felt like your standard lackeys to begin with, but the way they were given an actual development arc toward the end of the show, resulting in them joining the team and defeating Zenos, was perfect. I just wish we got a couple more interesting stories with them scattered throughout the show. Like, I get what their purpose was. They were the comic relief villains. They were the ones to laugh at when MiniForce won. But it started to get serious towards the end, and especially with the two guys of the Dan crew. They were always the funnier ones, the more sort of sillier ones. Bakara was head screwed on. She was a great character. The powers, weapons, and mechas were a huge upgrade in the show, and honestly, it really felt like there was a shift in the writers, going from a beat-to-beat, episode-to-episode story to a more respected action show with an overarching story that links all the characters together. The old mechas getting brought back in the final episode, having literally none of their tech work against Zenos, with his only demise being a consequence of his own hunger for power. That shit wasn't going on in the original show. Not a chance. They were doing that with brute force and the power of love. Like I said in my previous videos, the B-plots were the real sort of brain rot of these stories. There was nothing of actual substance to them, minus, I guess, the whole Lucy, Mr. Roy subplot. And originally I was going to say if you took those out, then MiniForce X would be one of the most kick-ass like action shows for kids these days. But I also think those B-plots are what make it MiniForce. You know, it is meant to be for that even younger generation, possibly even younger than Power Rangers. But when they got to the action elements and the actual story that goes along with these characters saving the world, I said it earlier, the writer's locked in. Like, it's one of the best kids shows that I've seen in a long time. I mean, none of this Henry Danger bullshit. And actually, now that I think of it, there was a bad guy teased at the end of the original MiniForce show that just wasn't in this. What was that guy? I can't remember that guy's name, but he was teased that he was not in this show. I'd love to see if that character or at least that model shows up in another show down the line. Honestly, thank you guys for being so passionate about the show and borderline begging me to cover MiniForce X, because I truly believe it is the best thing that has come out so far from this show, in my opinion at least. If you did make it this far in the video, comment the word Xtastic in the comments so I know who made it to the end and who didn't. And like Rio said, a true hero prepares for any new danger coming their way. So I hope you'll join me next time as we explore the next movie in the lineup, MiniForce Dino King. And then of course we'll get to the next series, MiniForce Super Dino Power. I've heard it's a downgrade from the show, although some people have told me it's really not that bad. Either way, I'm looking forward to some dino action and of course, more MiniForce. Huge thank you and shout out to Sarah Jane, Eric Leutz and Sam James, our Super Dino Mode patrons.